team. You'll know who everybody is in terms of recruitment and in terms of the visa process, all our very, very specialized people. It's going to be helping you to fulfill your wish to work as a nurse in Saudi Arabia. So having said that, I will proceed now to do a presentation. And 1 minute, I'll be bringing on our presentation. And then you can learn more about this opportunity. 1 moment. Okay. Is everybody with me? Right. So we're here tonight to talk about Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia being a very attractive work destination for South African nurses. Before I start, I want to make a statement. I'm extremely proud to say that South African nurses in Saudi Arabia is in very high demand. Our skill sets of our wonderful nurses are really wanted and needed, and every single South African nurse who has the relevant qualifications and training should consider working in Saudi Arabia, and we will definitely be able to assist. So this is the time now, ladies and gentlemen, to go ahead and take it to the next level. So very important is for you to know who you're going to be working with on a daily basis. The process is a long process. Let me say to you, it will take anything from 3 to 6 months to get your job and your actual visa to get to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, but it can vary between 3 to 6 months. And it's very important to know who's going to be helping you on a daily basis, who is going to support you, and who will take you through this process. So I'd like to say that we will introduce Matthew Kutsia. He is our recruitment administrator.
Hello.
Matthew, can you mute the call, please, ladies and gentlemen, so that there's no interference? Thank you very much. And then Ms. Savannah Brown, who is the recruitment administrator as well. The two of them will be calling you every day or every other day to get documents, and you will be cooperating very closely with them to make sure that your application is actually in and that you're in good standing to actually get a position in Saudi Arabia. And then lastly, we have Shelley Fall. She is our Middle East coordinator, and she's a very important person also in this process. All of us are important, but she's also very important because she's going to help you get the visa and take us through the visa process, which can be a little bit tedious, but once we meet all the criteria with our capable team, we will then be able to take you into Saudi Arabia. Then to move on. Firstly, a lot of people don't know much about Saudi Arabia, and also having said that, I've worked previously in Saudi Arabia as a teacher years back, and I have experience in the kingdom. I know the kinds of people that live here, there, and what it's like to be an expat. So I get and understand what it's like to leave your family behind, and go and work and earn this amazing money for your families. It's worth your while to actually understand where you're heading and what's actually happening in Saudi Arabia. So Saudi is a monarch, and you need to know they're run by a royal family. Mohammed bin Salman is the crown prince, and as you can see, his picture is on your left-hand side. Saudi Arabia actually is a Muslim country following the principles of Islam. And it can be a little bit daunting for people of other religions and other denominations. As we know, South Africa is one of the most diverse countries in the world, with very different kinds of people with different religions and cultures. But in Saudi Arabia, even though they are a Muslim country following Islam, they have welcomed nurses from South Africa with all kinds of religions. They have never been oppressive. And they're very welcoming. From what my nurses have told me, they've informed me that they have been very welcome in the kingdom. So as you know, South African skill sets in the nursing profession for all specialities is in a high demand and really, really respected in the kingdom. We're one of the top nurse sets in the kingdom. So as you know, it's a conservative country. There's a lot of strict laws and regulations that we have to abide to, and we have to be respectful at all times. I think when you move to a new country, when you go to a new place and you move there with good intentions, you need to be, adaptable. You must be able to adjust to the place that you're actually going to be working in. And then it is a desert climate, so you have to also know that there will be a shift in terms of climate. It's very hot in the summers, and it can be quite intense. But fortunately, there's a luxurious air conditioning system throughout the country, so it will be very bearable and manageable. You know, the taxis are fully air conditioned, the hospitals are air conditioned, apartments are air conditioned, the malls are air conditioned, so there will be no real discomfort in terms of climate. And then, of course, Arabic is the first language in Saudi Arabia, but English is also required from the Saudis as well now in the corporate sector and also in the medical sector. So we're definitely at an advantage when it comes to English. And then, of course, Saudi Arabia has a population of 37 million people. Then let's talk a little bit about the work environment. So Saudi Arabia is very first world in terms of the medical practices, the facilities and hospitals. And it is first world, it's paperless, it's very high tech, it's very smart and very organized, sophisticated medical systems that they use. And I personally visited the kingdom. I went to meet the National Guard Ministry officials and went on a site inspection at these hospitals to see where I'm sending my nurses to. I've also been at the compound to see the working and living arrangements. So I wanted to ensure that when I send a nurse to Saudi, it will be of a good standing, that we make sure that our nurses are safe, that they live in beautiful, beautiful housing, and that they have a lovely, smart, first world working environment. So I can personally say I've been there and I have secured a good contract with the National Guard, which is the Ministry of Saudi, to make sure South African nurses are comfortable and well looked after. So in the working environment, you will find that there are Filipino, Indian, Ethiopian, nationals from the UK and the US, and of course South Africa, that you'll be working with a multicultural, a multi-religious group of people in the hospital. It could be at times challenging because, you know, we come from a different world, we come from Africa, and our work practices might be a little bit different to our colleagues. But once again, you know, once you get into a new place, you need to take time to adjust and be flexible and learn, you know, to be able to learn and grow as you go along with these different nationalities. So you will be using English in the workspace, so you don't have to be stressed out about Arabic. It's very, very open to English, so there'll be a lot of English going around. And then it's a comprehensive learning environment. And what will be a bit shocking at times is that when you get into Saudi, you're going to go on a full orientation program, and you also write some tests and exams, you know, throughout the learning of the first 3 months. It can be a little bit daunting, especially if you're a senior nurse and you head up divisions or you head up a department and you kind of say, oh, but we do it like this in South Africa, and you know, we don't like to do it that way. They have a very different way, perhaps, of doing certain procedures or medical procedures or protocols in the hospital. So you have to kind of like be ready to unlearn some things and learn some things new, as well as knowing that you are professional and that you are skilled. So it requires a bit of flexibility, it requires a bit of being open-minded, and of course there will be full support during your time that you start in your orientation and your probation period, which is 3 months, 90 days. And then of course, there'll be you have your nurse manager, you'll have your line managers, you'll have your supervisors, and they will take you through the process. And of course, you're going to have your fellow South African nurses to be part of the process to help you, support you. And you have new immigration. So we will be there all the way, especially in the first few months. Can be a little bit lonely, a little bit daunting, a little bit scary. Can you please mute the call? The call? Hello? Can you please mute the call? I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much. So we can have complete silence and everyone can get to follow the presentation. Okay, so one of the key differences would be our time difference. There's only 1 hour time difference between Saudi Arabia and South Africa. South Africa is 1 hour behind Saudi Arabia. Okay, and then of course it's very important to talk about money, because we're going to be offering you a great tax-free salary package. And Saudi Arabia has a currency of a Saudi Riyal, It stands SAR, is the abbreviation for the currency. And basically it's 1 to 5. So when I say 1, for every 1 real, there's 5 rands that you will be getting. So if your salary, for example, is 11,000 reals, you will times that by 5. So you get about 55,000 to start. And then we'll discuss the salary components and the different kinds of bonuses and privileges that you have a little bit later on in this webinar. So it's also tax-free, which is a great bonus for us South Africans. And then a little bit about the packing guide. So this I'm going to go into again sometime later once nurses are on their way, but I just want to give you a brief little bit about how you'd be, how they want you to be when you arrive in the kingdom, how they want you to present yourself in the country as you're walking in the streets or whether you're outside. It's very important to know it's a conservative environment. Most of the Saudi nationals will be wearing black. Some of them, most of them will be covered, the faces will be covered, and some of them will just have a scarf with their abayas, the black cloak. So you might see a lot of black and everybody's covered. So it's very important we are not forced to cover in black or anything, but we are required to dress conservatively. And we will obviously not want any tight clothing in Saudi or see-through clothing. If you have tattoos, they'd want you to cover the tattoos with a long sleeve top. You'll always wear a vest underneath your uniform at all times. And if you're wearing a skirt, ladies, it will have to be long on your knee, below the knee, on your ankle, and a long sleeve top, preferably where body parts are not being shown, because it will be a little bit in the face when people see you and they stare at you, and you wouldn't be very comfortable. So it's a little bit of respect to the nationals, but also bear in mind there's no forcing or mandatory law that states that you have to wear a black cloak, have to wear a scarf. There's nothing like that. So they're very cognizant of international protocols, how other people dress, but at the same time, there's some respect. So I will be talking about, they'll give you uniforms, full uniforms. They'll give you all of that. That won't be at a cost to you at all. It will be free of charge. And but if you feel like you want to wear an abaya on the street of your clothing, you're most welcome to do so, but there's nothing forcing you, so you feel very comfortable and very at home. And then, of course, when you go to Saudi Arabia, there's a whole process. I want to talk a little bit, before I go into arrival, I want to talk a little bit about the salaries and the packages that Saudi Arabia has been offering. So having said this, we've just received we have a very big contract with the National Guard Ministry, and we have contracts with other hospitals too, but the National Guard packages are very, very good for our South African nurses. So let me talk about what's included in the packages. So it starts off with your salary, which will be tax-free, relevant to your skill set, relevant to your specialty. That will be the initial offer. And then you'll obviously get a specialty bonus on top of your initial offer, which will be anything from 5,000 rands up to 15,000 rand additional each month. And the salaries can range from anything from 55,000 right up to 100,000 rands tax-free. I'm repeating that. It's anything from 55,000 rands to 100,000 rands can be your salary. And then at almost every single time when I get an offer, there is a benefit in terms of the specialty bonus. So for example, if you are an ICU nurse and you're working in, for example, cardiothoracic surgery, it's very specialized, and you have 10 years experience, 5 years experience, you've got a great track record, they might be offering you something like even up to 10 to 15,000 on top of your initial offer, which was your basic salary, and then on top of that will be your specialty salary. For example, if you're a pediatric ICU nurse, you will really stand a very good chance of getting a very big bonus. Doesn't mean that other medical surgical nurses won't get a bonus. They could get a bonus for 1,000 real, which could be about 5,000 additional to that 55 or additional to your 80,000 rand. I have already done offers of 95,000 rand up to 100,000, sometimes over 100,000 rand. So there's no limit, ladies and gentlemen, to what you can earn and what you can achieve in Saudi Arabia. So I spoke about the salary. Now I'm going to be talking about what comes with this package. So what comes with the package is your entire medical insurance is covered by the hospital. You will get 2 sets of round trip tickets to Saudi Arabia and back home. You will also be getting full, beautiful accommodation. It will either be in an apartment with your own bedroom and your own bathroom, and you possibly will share with another South African nurse, or sometimes we can go into a villa, into a house in a compound with another nurse, all depending. And then, of course, all utilities in the apartment or house is paid for by the hospital, such as electricity, water, sanitation. Any of the above will be covered. So you have no expense for accommodation, and then also no expense for transport. There's a beautiful luxury air-conditioned bus that is at your disposal to travel to work and back, paid for by the hospital. And also nurses wants to go shopping, they can go on the bus and they can go do their shopping, and even your bags get carried for you, your shopping bags, by the helpers at the supermarkets, and they will carry the bags even into the bus. So with this very spoiled environment for our nurses, which I absolutely love and adore. So having said that, I've covered all of that except what else? So I've done the accommodation, you get your salary, you get your utilities paid, your tickets are paid, and pretty much no expense other than your basic foods that you would need to purchase to live in Saudi Arabia. So the most of the offers are usually a 1-year, 12-month contract. And then, of course, when you are asked in a month before, 2 months before, to renew your contract, you have the option to renew for another year. When you do so, you stand in line to then get a renewal bonus. So when you renew your contract, you get another bonus, which is possibly up to a salary additional. And it's just it's kind of a reward to say thank you for renewing, and you start your next contract again. So if you get your tickets, you go on the plane, you go to Saudi Arabia, you have a ticket back. And then if you want to come visit your family, you come in, you go back, and that would all be covered. So basically fully covered in all aspects. You have a chance to really save money because it's tax-free. You have a chance to really save money on all the other expenses as South Africans have to really cover, which is very, very difficult. And I think the National Guard, the Ministry of Saudi, I think they appreciate our South African skills in nursing. I think they really, really appreciate it, because one of my nurses, Vuyo, she told me how well treated she is in the hospital when she gets asked, where are you from? And she'll say, I'm from South Africa. And there'll be a big smile on the person's face and say, welcome. It's so nice to have a South African nurse on board. So we're very popular in Saudi, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, so I've spoken about the package of the offers, and I'll be talking a little bit later on about the process and what it regards in terms of your timelines, in terms of what documents to have, in terms of the visa process. It's quite a tedious process, ladies and gentlemen, and that is why I choose Newell Immigration to navigate this process for you hassle-free. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit of the arrival. So the arrival is just basically when you go to Saudi, and I will then, once you've got your offer, you're going to sign your offer, and you're going to sign your offer, and thereafter I do about a 12-page contract package with you. Once that's all ready, I will then issue you a ticket, a flight ticket to Saudi, fully paid for. Thereafter, we will then start the visa process. Firstly, we have to do the whole process before we can get the ticket, of course, and then we will mobilize you and hold your hand all the way up until the day you are finally approved, meaning after 3 months of probation, and then you become permanent, and then you're on your own in terms of now then working for the National Guard. So let's move on. Okay, so a little bit about the getting settled into Saudi Arabia. So some of the hospitals, when they have the mobilization, they have a whole team of people helping you at the airport. They will fetch you at the airport. They'll collect you. They will provide you with a cash advance, money advance, to come through the month. the first month. So if you didn't have any much cash to travel, you don't have to worry, because the hospital will provide you with cash. Either the driver will provide it for you, or at the hospital the following day when you report to HR, they will give you some cash to start your journey as a nurse in Saudi. And then I spoke about the accommodation. It's going to be a two-bedroom apartment. I spoke about transport and all of the above. So don't worry about the bring 20,000 rands. Don't worry about that. Don't stress out about that. We've taken care of that. And then you'll be working a 6-day week as well. And you'll have 5 shifts of overtime. Once you become permanent, they will offer you that, which will be paid additional money for that as well. And yeah, it's a 9-hour flight to Saudi Arabia. And yeah, let's see what the next slide holds. I think that's the end of it. I'm back. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was my presentation. And I'd like to introduce Savannah Brown shortly to present and give a little bit of feedback on documents that needs to be prepared by the nurses. Savannah, can you start the process?
Hi guys, how are you? So I just wanted to inform you guys of the necessary documentation that's going to be needed for your recruitment process, as well later within your visa process. So the most important document you are going to need will be your passports, and you need to make certain that you have at least 2 years or more on your passports. So there will be no delays later within your process. Also importantly, you're going to need your transcripts for any qualifications you have within nursing, whether it's your diploma or degrees. You're also going to be required to provide all your diploma certificates, SANC registration certificates, as well as your license. Apart from that, you're also going to need to have your confirmation of employment with your current employers, previous employers, as well as your reference letters for the past 2 years. You're also going to be required to provide us with a BMI certificate with a BMI of 30 or below. Those are all the documents that we require for your process to provide to the hospital to get you an offer to work in Saudi Arabia. I'm going to hand over to Shelly. She's going to take you through the visa process. Thank you, guys.
Evening. Hope you guys are all well. I'm the visa coordinator for the Middle Eastern team and the Saudi division. So my role is to ensure that you prepare a smooth and legislatively correct application in line with the Saudi government regulations for the work visa, as well as complying with the hospital requirements in actually obtaining the visa. There are a few processes involved in actually getting to the point where you are able to apply for a visa, which I will guide you from the onset of you receiving your job offer. You'll be handed over to me. I will guide you step by step through all the various stages of the application preparation process for your visa submissions. And then on the day of submission as well, we will accompany you to ensure that you have a smooth submission. We'll wait for you to finish, and within about 5 days of you submitting your visa application, you receive your visa, and from there we would then request your air tickets and mobilize you.
Thank you, Shelly, for that. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I can say is that at New Immigration, we are very, very, focused on making sure that our nurses get good offers and good positions. That's the first priority for me as the division head. Having said that, I want you to all know that this is the time, this is the chance you have right now. I have received a huge amount of positions today, last week and the week before. And I've submitted files through for consideration, and already I have had up to 18 people ready for interviews, and some people or even getting offers without an interview, because sometimes the way I prepare the file, or we prepare the file, they can see it's an excellent nurse and they just give the offer. So you could be lucky just to get an offer. You could be lucky just to get an interview. Takes about 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm running tomorrow 12 interviews, 10 minutes each, back to back, right through the day, to make sure that those nurses that were shortlisted all get positions. By next week, I'll have the offers, and then we start the process. Once they sign, we start the visa process. So what I'm saying is, tonight you took the time to change your life. Tonight you take the time to take an opportunity of a lifetime. I'm sure you're following us on TikTok and watching our journey with our nurses in Saudi, who has been there for over a year now, and have spoken to the nurses on TikTok and said what they've achieved in 1 year. They've had great success, great financial stability, and this is the chance, guys. And to be able to start your process, please note that we require cooperation, we require hand-holding. We're here to help you. We're here to provide you with support and a service. So you're with a professional company around for 14 years, and you've seen all our faces. You know who's behind the scenes, so you can trust us to take you to Saudi. And I am going to say that for now, I've got the 5 very important specialities, but it doesn't mean that you're excluded if you don't have the speciality, because I'm currently recruiting for Jeddah, for Riyadh, for Hassa, for Al Qasim, Medina. We've got a lot of hospitals that we need nurses for. But right now, for this drive, I'm asking nurses to send their updated CV with a picture. If you don't have the picture inserted into your CV, you can actually just pop your professional photograph next to your CV to Savannah or to Matthew, and they will be sharing the email addresses for CVs to be sent to, as well as the WhatsApp number for any queries or questions. So you can send your CV through. And then what I need to tell you is the 5 specialities is, for now, we need urgently, but I've got about 27 positions just alone for pediatrics, all kinds of specialties in pediatrics. Oncology nurses, I'm looking for urgently, all ICU nurses, all cardiac nurses, different kinds of cardiac nurses, and then I need a medical surgical nurses. Those 5 categories are extremely urgent. So if you can send your CVs through, we will then send you a application form and then a pack of your skills checklist, which is a vital. So you need to indicate, okay, I am an ICU nurse, and we'll send you the application pack. It is many pages, ladies and gentlemen. It is your future. So I'd expect you to take the time not to delay the team to get you a job and to lose this chance. Do it within 24 hours. I'm calling to action all nurses here before Friday, 3 o'clock. Send in your CVs, get the pack sent to you, complete everything properly, and resend it back to the recruitment team, Savannah or Matthew. Once I got that file, I will then send it through for consideration for shortlisting for those 300 positions I have at the moment. So guys, this is the time. I'm calling to action all nurses here on this wonderful evening where you're going to be changing your life, basically, and making a very big step in your future. So we're here, we're ready, we're waiting for your CVs. All questions and answers will be answered tonight. I'm very happy to start. Matthew, are you able to read out the questions for me so I can start answering? Okay, let's see. Matthew Kutsia, are you there? Okay. Matthew, are you there? Hi, Savannah Brown. Can you start reading the questions, please? Okay.
Monica, yes, no problem.
Thank you.
Perfect. So Adelaide asked if there are any positions open for clinical nurses.
Clinical nurses, Savannah, you should be answering that question. You work with those files every day. What was the hospital's response on that one?
So there are currently no positions available within primary health nursing at this current point of time. However, there should be positions available within next month.
Okay, that's a fantastic answer. So yes, we're not excluding any clinical nurses, ladies and gentlemen. We are definitely going to be looking at them in the new month when the hospital gives us a directive to recruit for clinical nurses. So just hang on, don't lose faith, don't lose hope, and we'll try our very best for you once the hospital gives us that confirmation. Next question, Savannah.
Masala asked he would like some clarification on the passport.
Okay,
Does
what's
he
your,
qualify if his passport was made last year
okay.
or this year?
So his passport was issued last year, 2024.
Yes.
So
Yes.
he has a valid passport for 9 years still. So it's
Correct.
absolutely fine. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want you to get confused. The only reason why I'm making a point of discussing passport is because what has happened in the past is nurses are applying with their passport. When they apply, then they apply with an oldish passport. So say they only have 3 months on their passport, or they only have 5 months on their passport. That becomes very complicated because when I issue the e-visas and all the documents, it's all on your old passport. And then when it comes 3 months later, when you have to go get your visa stamp in your passport's no longer valid. And then we have to reissue all the documents, creating a huge delay. So I'm just going to make a point now. Ladies and gentlemen, please produce a passport that's not like having only 6 months or 1 year on your passport. At least there must be at least 10-year passport, but at least not too old. So it's almost 9 years, then I think go for a new passport. I think 9 years, go for a new passport, ladies and gentlemen. Even 8 years. It's 8 years old, I would suggest going for a new passport. All right. And then once you've got your new passport, then you can start applying. But if you've got a passport that is not so old and it's quite new, I'm very happy to take the application. I hope that answers the question. Savannah, next question.
Lorraine asked, are polish-trained nurses who hold a bachelor's in nursing and don't have a postgraduate experience welcome to apply?
Can you repeat the question, please, just slowly?
Lorraine asked, are Polish-trained nurses who hold a bachelor's in nursing and don't have a postgraduate experience welcome to apply?
Okay. So if you polished, are you probably referring, I'm not sure, if you are referring to being a registered nurse with a diploma or with a degree, the most important part of that question is if you've got a diploma, if you've got a degree in nursing, understand that it will only be accepted if you have a minimum of 2 years experience working in a clinical environment in a hospital. You've got to have a minimum of 2 years track record in a hospital to qualify to apply for Saudi Arabia. Thank you, Savannah. Next one.
Matabela asked, do you have hospitals that hire with a BMI over 30?
To be honest, we do have hospitals such as that. They're not as strict on the BMI. However, just bear in mind that the other hospitals, not all of them can offer this kind of comprehensive package. They do give most of what the National Guard Hospital does give, but the offer might be slightly less, slightly lower than the National Guard. National Guard at the moment is one of the highest paying hospitals. So if you're willing to still go work there tax-free with a comprehensive package, I'm sure we could assist you. Next one.
Paulina asked, is there any available positions for research nurses?
Currently, there is no positions, but you have to just let us know what your specialty is in your relevant research position you're holding. So if, for example, you're a research nurse in oncology, then more than likely I could find out and check. But if you can just maybe give us some information about the kind of specialty and send your CV through, I'm sure I can find out for you. Thank you.
Emmanuel asks, is there any specific way his CV should be drafted?
Savannah, that's for you to answer because you work with CVs on a daily basis. I'd like you to answer that question.
So there's no specific way, as long as you list the hospitals you are working in, as well as dates of employment and the ward you are working in, as well as all your qualification experience is listed on your CV.
Okay.
That's all we will need to send your application through.
Yeah, and try and keep your CV very clean and very simple, guys. Include a very professional picture. Wear your uniform. I'd like my nurses always to present with a uniform and always to remember, we're going to talk about interviews now, but the uniform gives a very professional look and feel in the CV. And don't include a very large picture, just a small picture that would be giving people an understanding of who you are and, give them a very professional look. And I think that will be fun. Keep the CV very simple, 2 pages, make sure the dates are very accurate and it corresponds to your employment because they have people that check that CV very, very well. And we're still going to go through a lot of verification processes. We're still going to go through some, like the data flow and the Mamaris. They check everything on the CV. So make sure your CV is very accurate, very clean, very neat, and include a nice professional picture. Thank you. Go ahead, Savannah.
Clay asked how many years of experience is required.
A minimum of 2 years experience is required working hands-on with patients. What is very important, they don't want someone that hasn't put up a drip for 5 years and stayed at home for 5 years and never worked with patients and then come and apply for a job and wants to work with patients. They haven't had the training practice for many years, and so therefore the requirement is 24 months, a minimum of 24 months. So then you can definitely, if you don't have it currently, my suggestion would be then to work for the months or the years that you are short, and then keep your dream, keep your faith, and reapply with us, and then we will be able to help you. Next one, Savannah.
Majori asked, what is the age restriction?
The age restriction usually is 55 years. However, I have had offers for nurses at the age of 57, 58, because sometimes when a nurse is over the age of 55, they come with a wealth of experience, highly skilled, and they waiver that 55 cut off. So depending how much years experience you have, what expertise you bring, how trained you are, and how many teams you're leading, they might reconsider. So yes, I'll opening it up to it being flexible, but usually the cutoff is 55.
Olivia asked, where do they send their CVs?
Okay, Savannah, you need to be very clear now. I want you to give it slowly to the nurses on the panel on this webinar. Give your email address and please share Matthew's email address. You can repeat it so nurses can take it down and type it out or write it down. Go ahead.
Okay, so you can send your CVs to Savannah. That's SAVANNAH@NWIvisas.com, or you can send it to Matthew at MATHEWETZER@NWIvisas.com. We also sent it in the chat box.
Yeah, resend it, Matthew, please, in the chat box so the nurses can apply to those 2 email addresses for a job in Saudi Arabia.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
How are you, ma'am?
I'm good, thank you. And how are you, sir? Welcome.
Yes, I've just joined, so I was struggling to join. Can you just make a highlight on what you are talking about? And also, I have missed, I didn't write the email well.
Okay, no problem. What we're going to do is I'm going to mute. You have to mute your call after we talk to me so that we can basically provide you with a little bit of information towards the end. I'll just give a little bit of a recap for the nurses that has missed part of the webinar. I don't mind to do that, but I do want you to draw your attention to the email addresses in the chat box for Matthew and Savannah for you to apply for the job via sending your CV as soon as possible, ladies and gentlemen. Then Savannah, can you also, or Matthew, can you also share in the chat box the WhatsApp number for Newer Immigrations Recruitment Team for queries and questions, perhaps? Don't send CVs on the WhatsApp, ladies and gentlemen. I'd just like you to send it via your CVs via email, but questions maybe or concerns via the company WhatsApp number for Recruitment Division. So could you, Matthew, could you share that number, please, onto the chat box for nurses to query or ask a question? Thank you. Okay, Savannah, go ahead.
Shanice asked, when will they be available to bring the family over?
Okay, so what has happened, I was present at the compound living quarter in Saudi Arabia. I did see children there at the compound, and I did ask about that, and they said, look, it's a little bit of a while. I'm not going to say anything conclusive because I need to speak under correction, speak about the regulations and the kind of visa that they're offering. So they are offering a single status visa for one person, but I do know nurses in the past from other hospitals and other, even from the National Guard has brought their children later on. So I'm not going to be able to answer it conclusively. I'm not going to make a statement here today to say Malika said that children are allowed to come at this point, but for now, at this current visa that I have on offer, it's only for single status nurses for single status, meaning only one person per visa. So I think once you're in the kingdom, I think that is something that you'll have to discuss with your employer and the terms and conditions. If how you want to change it would be up to you. But for me, for my statement, I'm saying single status visa, unfortunately, for now.
Nkosi asked, are they accepting bridging diplomas?
Savannah, you should answer that question.
Yes, we are. So if you have your enrolled nurse certificate as well as your transcripts and your bridging diploma certificate and transcripts, we will be able to accept your application, yes, as long as you can provide all documents.
Yeah, so we're accepting the bridging certification then. Savannah will take you through that document list that has to be provided, to be able to be qualifying for a position in Saudi. Okay, go ahead, Savannah.
Sibunsi asked, how long do you think they will have to wait after they send their documents for an interview?
Okay, that's a very good question. So at the moment, right at this moment, there's an active, strong, very big demand for the recruitment of nurses from South Africa. So I would answer the question like this. For now, at this point, it can take anything from a couple of weeks actually to get an offer. Right now, it doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes it can take maybe 2 months, can take 3 months, sometimes it takes 6 months, or even can take longer. It depends on your speciality. It depends on what the hospital's asking for. Sometimes some people are just more lucky than others at that time where they apply, they've got the ICU skill set, the hospital's asking me for ICU nurses and they get an offer within a month, they've got it. Other people's, maybe their skill set's not in demand right now, they have a surplus of that nurses, they'll say maybe only in 6 months we'll apply. So it can vary, it really varies. But for this recruitment drive in Jeddah at the moment, and for the one in Qasim, and the one in Hassa, we have jobs lined up. So it can be a couple of weeks, I think, depending on your specialty.
Kumi asked, what are the requirements for a nurse?
Okay, this is a very important question, and I really want to go very slowly with this. So first and foremost, if you're a South African nurse, you are required to have a 4-year diploma in nursing. That is the key. 4-year diploma in nursing and be a registered nurse. That's first. Second requirement is being a registered, have a 2-year working experience in a hospital in a clinical environment. And then, of course, your BMI must be 30 or below. And I think that's pretty much it. You have a BMI, you have to have your diploma, and you have to have 2 years work experience in a hospital working with patients. That's the 3 key requirements. Anything else to add, Savannah?
Nomsa asked, are there any ICU nurses expected to rotate in different units when in Saudi?
No, I really can't speak on the rotation schedule or timetable. That's something I can't answer internally. That maybe you can reach out to one of our nurses, maybe, which I can maybe ask her if she want to answer the question, maybe another time. We can maybe chat with her and ask her, but she works in ICU, so she might be the one to answer it better than I would be able to.
Charlene asked, she's a Zimbabwean nurse that has her bachelor's degree from South Africa. She would like to know if she will qualify for the process.
I think you will definitely qualify if you have the 2 years, you have a degree, and you have the BMI. You can qualify, but remember, when we apply with a passport. So if you hold a Zimbabwean passport, your offer will be very, very different to a nurse from South Africa. That's also very difficult for some of the foreign nurses to understand. They were trained in South Africa, they have a degree in South Africa, and they don't get the same salary package as a South African nurse. Unfortunately, that is how it works. But you can get you a job as a Zimbabwean nurse, but you will go on a Zimbabwean passport package, salary package, and it is substantially less than a South African nurse.
Diana asked, are there any positions for nurses with psychiatric experience?
Absolutely not. There's no positions for psychiatrics at all in the kingdom, unfortunately.
Nomsa asked, are nurses, can they choose to work fixed shifts, or is it day shift or night shift?
I've known some of the nurses have told me that there's, you work 6 days and you have to work like a 7 to 7 type of like timeline. I don't know exactly more about the actual rosters, because I know some nurses only work from 8 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they don't work weekends. Other nurses work like a 7 to 7 cycle. So it varies depending on your speciality and what it depends. If you're working in ICU, if you're working in emergency, it will be very different to a nurse working in a research unit or working in a different kind of unit. So it varies. I can't give you an accurate answer on that, but definitely won't be the same standard blanket approach per specialty.
Mary asked, what are the terms and conditions with regards to health for Saudi when going to Saudi with regards to any illnesses that could cause an individual from qualifying to go?
Okay, so this is a very important question, ladies and gentlemen. So, as you know, to be able to get a job in Saudi, you have to pass the medical battery of tests, and it is quite a lot of tests, something like 14 tests plus a PEMQ. So I'd like to say, Savannah, can you please take this question, because you work with these tests. I could just comment to say that the HIV test would have to be negative, of course, and syphilis negative. I also know that your TB and your hepatitis A, B, and C's. But I think, Savannah, you can go more into detail about the medical tests so that they know what are the requirements medically, and also maybe just discuss a little bit about the cost of those tests. I'd like you to do that for me, Savannah. Thank you.
No problem at all, Malika. So with regards to any medicals, you're going to be required to do 14 tests. So it's going to be your HIV. You're going to have a negative test result, as well as your syphilis, hepatitis A, B, and C. You also need to provide a pregnancy test if you are a female. Apart from that, you're going to need to do your yellow fever, meningitis, your measles, You also need to do a skin test, a chest x-ray to make sure everything's in order. We need the x-ray as well as the x-ray report. You also need to do rubella and varicella. All those tests need to be negative. Otherwise, it can affect your outcome with the hospital.
Yeah. So there is an expectation then to pass those tests in terms of a negative reading on all of the above. And also you have to be medically fit to be cleared. You must be cleared to be medically fit as well by a GP. So it is extensive battery of tests that has to be done, but we will guide you through the processes when to go for those medical tests. And some nurses have medical aid and they stay in the hospital for a night and they get all the tests done. Others pay for it in cash. It all depends on how you want to do it. But we will let you know closer to the time. But the expectation is that those tests need to be done and that they have to be clear from all disease to be able to stand in line for a job in Saudi Arabia. Here, the next question, Savannah.
Kaliwi asked, are any children allowed to move with them?
I think we've had that question before. I think negotiation has to take place with the nurse and her employer once she's working in Saudi. At this point, we can only issue a single entry visa for a nurse to enter by herself at this point.
And then Paulina asked, will the hospital accept nurses with any outstanding South African Nursing Council documents? Example, like nursing hours, certificates, etc.
I think, Savannah, we know it won't work. Unfortunately not. All the documentation to support what you state in your CV, it needs to add up and it needs to cross-reference. So everything you say on the CV, what qualifications you have, what transcripts you have, has to come from SANC or it has to come from a relative authority. Hence, it has to be verified. You have to have the relevant hours, the relevant documents that will support your qualification and your skill set. So unfortunately, if you don't have that, you need to actually get it.
Okay. Then Majori asked, if she's currently unemployed and working under agency for less than a year, would she qualify?
Well, Savannah, you can discuss that because I know that some of the nurses working for agencies like a moonlighting or part-time employment doesn't always go through the process of data flow. So what I suggest, what you'd like to say, Savannah, about that?
It can be a bit difficult. For instance, we had a nurse, her agency didn't want to actually provide verification that she is employed with them, working at a hospital. So it can be a bit more difficult for nurses working within an agency as well as at a hospital full time. It can affect your process later within your visa work.
Yeah, so what we do at New Immigration is we make sure that you have a solid application. We don't want to take you through a process 3/4 and then tell you you're not accepted. So we will make very sure when we go through a CV to check. And we know already, we have a lot of experience doing this. So we know the one thing that will stand between you and a job is going to be data flow. Data flow, Shelley smiling at the bottom there, because Shelley deals with data flow and memoirs, and they pull their hair out often because that process is really difficult to navigate, but it's doable and we do it every day. But it is very challenging when you don't have the correct experience. So my suggestion is, if you don't have the correct or the amount of types of experience that you need to your track record, I suggest work another year and try and stick to one agency, and then make sure that when you go to this agency that they will be giving you, like a nice reference and state that you have worked for them for the past 2 years or 1.5 years, whatever, and you have been working as an ICU nurse in a clinical environment with patients, then the data flow will be more than likely accepted. Shelley, do you want to just come in there on the data flow on that question? I think you would be able to provide lots of insight. You work with this stuff every day.
Sorry, can you just repeat the question?
Shelley, you work with this every day. Somebody that's working for an agency on and off, wanting to know, can they apply? Can you please shed light on on how difficult that would be with data flow and what data flow would want from that specific nurse?
Look, as long as you've been with that specific, if you're just purely wanting to use the agency as a reference, it can be done, but you must be working for that specific agency for a minimum of 2 years. They're very specific on that. Although I know with a lot of agencies, they do place you at different hospitals, so you'll do 2 or 3 months at one and they move you around. That is fine, as long as it is with one specific agency and not kind of just moonlighting for that agency or just in locum positions, because that's where it becomes very difficult, because Saudi want to see 2 years full-time employment and at least the most current. So it must be the last 2 years in that position, because it must line up with the job offer and the position that's offered to you in the job offer that you've received. Because if that does not, it becomes very problematic to get your registration to practice as a nurse in Saudi, and that complicates matters and can delay processes.
Yeah. So I think, thank you, Shirley, for creating some awareness around the challenges that we experience regarding agencies and nurses working for agencies with on and off experience or without having that full track record. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say heads up to all of you who are currently with agencies and now you're fully aware of the requirements. So try and stick to the agency, stick to your unit and don't move around a lot, because data flow is the one that will really stand in your way of a process. We have a lot of back and forth, but now with all our experience, we kind of know to tell the nurses prior to the actual application that if you don't have that, work it rather in, make sure you get that 2 years and then apply for the job so you don't get rejected along the way. Next question, Savannah.
Khaleesi asked, do they do data flow while they're in South Africa or when they arrive in Saudi?
We will do the data flow for you and with you. Shirley will lead the process on the data flow. We do everything for you. We do the entire recruitment process. We offer the visa at a cost, of course, and then once you've paid us for your visa, we will run your data flow. We will also do your Momoris. We will get a full eligibility number for Momoris, which will allow you to write the prometric exam in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And we will also make sure that you get your ticket and everything. We will do everything for you. Next question.
Sandy we asked, how long do you wait for the contract? And do they give time to work your notice period?
Okay. How long? Can you just repeat the question about the contract part first?
How long do you have to wait for the hospital to provide you with your contract? And will you have enough time to give your current employment notice period?
Okay, so we work with this every single day, Savannah and Matthew. We work with this every single day, that question. So like right now, this is a very important time now. This is a huge recruitment drive from Saudi into South Africa. So I would say it will be a very different answer to the end of the year, maybe. Right now, it's literally a week or two when you get your offer. Yeah, so if you're going to go for an interview now, this week or next week or the week after, shortly after that, they will send me an email to state you had an interview last week, that you've been approved. Will you accept an offer? Yes or no, and they will also include in the email the amount of money and everything. We then will ask you, would you accept this offer? You will say, yes, we accept the offer. And then I will prepare the offer letter from them and you'll sign it, and then we go through the process. So to answer the question, it can take a couple of weeks maybe to get an offer. Won't be too long. And then the notice period, let's talk about the notice period. So at Newer Immigration, we do not encourage nurses to resign a job because they're in process for another job in Saudi Arabia. Please be cautious, ladies and gentlemen. This is your income. So you're currently in a job, do not resign your job. I repeat that, do not resign your job. We will advise you, because this process can take anything from 3 months up to 6 months to get you out of South Africa. Now, if you resign before the time and your transcripts are lost, for example, it can delay the process up to 2 months. So you can maybe leave only in 5 months, and then you become unemployed and you sit at home with no income and you're in the middle of the 2 jobs. So we want to prevent that at all times. My team will advise you. Once the contract, the e-visa and the consulate, all of these things come through, we will tell you, okay, we'll pick up the phone, we'll call you and say, look, all your documents are ready. You're going to stamp now and at VFS, the VFS offices, for your visa into your passport. We've got less than 5 weeks on the process. Please resign now. So we will advise you accordingly. Next question, Savannah.
Rokla asked, do we hire enrolled nurses?
Savannah, you should answer that.
So at the current
Yeah.
moment, we are only accepting nurses with a 4-year diploma. So there are no current positions for enrolled nurses at this point of time.
Thank you, Savannah. Next question.
Aisha asked if she is married, will her spouse be able to go with her to Saudi?
Unfortunately, it's a single status visa, so no spouses are able to travel with a nurse. If the spouse wishes to get a job independently, there's no harm in that. She will then have to speak to HR to request rather the allowance for the accommodation and then have her husband join her, but he'd have to do a separate application for position employment if he's not a nurse. Next
Celestia
question.
asked if she's already been in Saudi previously, will she need to provide her transcripts again?
Yes, we start from the beginning again. The whole process starts from the beginning again. You have to provide your transcripts again, yes.
And then Jean asked, are we currently accepting nurses that are employed at a 24-hour clinic?
All depends if that person has a track record in a hospital for 2 years. Shelley and Savannah and Matthew will do the assessment of your CV to see if you qualify. So the best thing is to write a note on an email, pop in your CV, and they will then respond to see if you are in line to apply for a position in Saudi. Next question.
Do you have any positions available within occupational health?
Savannah, do we have? Currently not. We don't have at the
Currently
moment.
not, no.
If we do get, we will definitely be putting out a notification on that. Next question.
Petunia asked, how much do we charge for the whole process?
Well, that's a very good question, Petunia. Very good. So with this visa cost, we charge an amount of 28,500 for the full process from start to end. Okay. We don't charge money for the recruitment of a nurse. We're not allowed to do that, and we follow protocol. So the recruitment and getting the job is one thing, but the visa process was we're a visa company, an immigration company as well. We will process your visa for 28,500, of which 5,000 Rand go towards external parties, which is your police clearance. We will do an expedited police clearance for the 5,000, and included in that 5,000 will be all your documents will be apostilled by the High Court of South Africa at a very short time frame. So we can do it anything from 5 days up to 14 days, and you'll have all your documents out. So fully inclusive in the cost of the visa is your documents, apostling, and your police clearance. And then, of course, the balance is for our professional fee to get you onto the plane to Saudi Arabia.
Marjorie asked, does one have to be previously vaccinated for COVID-19?
Yes, you have to provide a COVID certification. Next
Will I
question.
qualify if I work in primary healthcare but work in ICU on weekends?
Primary health care, Shelley, you will assess that work experience, please, when the candidate sends in the CV. You're welcome to send in your CV. Let us assess it and let us see if we can factor you into the lineup for this recruitment drive. Shelley will be able to do the assessment for the requirements for data flow on your particular CV. Thank you.
If I'm a caregiver, would I qualify?
At this point in time, we don't recruit for caregivers at the moment, but we will have maybe some openings coming up throughout the year. We will be able to keep you posted. That is something that is in the pipeline. We want to look at that because lots of people have been asking about caregivers. I just want to secure a good company in Saudi to work with, and then we will update you on the progress.
What should be done if an original document is no longer available and they can only provide with a duplication?
Savannah, do they accept the duplicates? Shelley, you guys work with the documents?
Yes, they do. As long as you can provide evidence that you studied that qualification at that specific institute, it can be used during your process for data flow and for your memoirs.
Yeah, because Shelley and Savannah works with the data flow and the memoirs every single day. So we know exactly. Okay, so we can accept the duplicate then. Thank you. Next question, Savannah.
After the memoirs, how long does it take to get a contract, not an offer?
A contract. So a contract will come once. The first step after getting the interview is the offer letter. It's a one-page document promising you a job with your salary in. After that, I'd say maybe 2 to 3 weeks later, the contract package will arrive with me and I will then share. It's usually like about, maybe it can be 2 to 3 weeks sometimes before the formal contract will be issued. It's about 12 pages. And there's confidentiality clauses that needs to be signed. And there's an English test as well, by the way, that nurses will have to also write to qualify for the positions. Next question.
Are non-specialist professional nurses working in the neonatal ward considered?
Shelley, can you answer that question?
Your speciality has to be in line with the position offered. So if you don't and you don't have that speciality qualification, unfortunately not.
Thank you. Next one, Savannah. Is there another question?
Are there any positions for nurses in managed care health? Case managers.
Case managers in the
Yes.
hospital?
Correct.
Yes, we do. We have some senior positions at the moment. We do. So
There's quite a few positions.
we
You
do
just need
have.
to state what ward you are within, and then we can work your application accordingly from there.
Yeah, we've got some new positions in today. So please hurry up and send your CV through and respond as fast as you can to our application packs so we can get you in line for this drive. They are really, really needing those CVs, ladies and gentlemen.
So what age do you accept professional nurses?
55 is the cutoff age, but we do also consider a little bit over 55 because sometimes nurses have a very, very solid, long track record in a particular area, and the hospitals sometimes want that expertise, so they would consider it and waiver the 55. But usually the cutoff for a normal nurse is 55.
When is one expected to pay for the visa process fees, and how are payments made?
Okay, very good question as well. So once you got your offer, the moment you accept the offer and you sign or you say yes, and you say yes to the email, I'm taking this position, Savannah and Matthew will jump on a call and they will brief you on the payment plan. So what we do is if you pay, for example, the full price, the full amount, say you pay 28,500, I will then authorize a discount of 3,500 rands, and you can pay like 25,000 if you pay full price. Okay, I'll give you a cash discount. But if you can't pay, we will look into individual payment plans. So it depends on the nurse's financial situation or the financial plan that they want to go through. We have plans in place with the finance department where you can sign and accept the terms and conditions, and then you can pay it over 3 months, or you can pay it over 2 months, but it's case for case. Like people need to explain, okay, I have all the money, I want to pay it, or no, I want to pay it in 2 parts. We are very negotiable on it. We're very negotiable. We don't want people to lose the opportunity of the job because of the visa fee. So rather speak to us confidentially. I will get the finance to authorize and then allow you to pay it off in a payment plan. The only condition I have about the payment plans is that we must have the monies in before I issue the ticket. So it might take 3 months, it might take 4 months. If it takes 4 months, you have a little bit of extra time to pay it off. But ideally, I'd like the fees to be paid over at least 3 to 4 months, not more than that.
Nailene, also non-specialists are not considered even if they have 2 years of experience within neonatal.
No, neonatal nurses are definitely needed. We do need you. So please send your CV through and we'll do the assessment of the CV and we'll respond to it. And if it fits the criteria, we're happy to take you through and get your application back to you. Next question.
Are there any posts available for midwives and can I work within the labor delivery ward, even if I don't have a speciality in midwifery?
Okay, Savannah, and Shirley, can we talk about data flow? Will data flow accept that person? In terms of
With labor and delivery, they do, yes.
Okay.
It's
But
only
they-
if you want to work within like
Yeah, Shirley?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Data flow would accept it. Where it would be majority of the time that the problems would arise would be with Mumaris for their actual registration.
Yeah.
Because they want that if they are working as a midwife, their qualification must only be in midwifery, is what we've seen.
Can you please repeat that? Because nurses need to understand. I don't want to confuse the nurses tonight on this. Shirley, you work with us every day. So what you're saying to me is, from my understanding, if you are working as a midwife, you have to have the qualifications according to midwifery if you're a midwife.
Correct.
That's not negotiable with, it's not our problem. It's actually Mumaris, the Saudi Nursing Specialty Commission, that won't give the eligibility number because that qualification is not matching your work experience. So that is something that I need to make a point of tonight, as Mumaris is the deciding body that decides if you're going to get your license or not, and will allow you to write prometrics in Saudi or not. So we will issue you with the eligibility. When they give it to us, we'll give it to you, and that will allow you to get through the stamping process and then to climb on the plane, to allow you to write your prometrics in the kingdom. So that is something that we must emphasize. It has to go through 2 processes: the data flow process, which is a verification process to verify your qualifications, your work experiences, and your references. Once it goes through the data flow verifying company and they give you your approval, then and verification certification, then we will take it through the Saudi Nursing Specialty Commission, who will then see if you are eligible to get a license to practice nursing in the kingdom. And the Mumaris process is the final step, which is quite a tedious step. But do not feel disheartened. Do not feel confused and afraid. We are here to answer the questions. You can always pop us a WhatsApp, call us and check with us, send your CV through, and then follow up with a call or message to say, do I qualify? Do you think that Mumaris will accept my qualifications and my experience or not? And we'll be very frank with you and tell you the truth. We won't be telling you things incorrectly because we know what will be accepted and what is not accepted. Okay.
Stephen Zile asked, after how long are they allowed to come back to South Africa to visit their family?
Good question. Some nurses that come after 3 months, I think they come back quite soon. Yes. Yeah, you can come after 3
So
months.
you
Yeah.
can come home after your 3-month probation period. You do get 22 to 30 days annual leave to come back home.
Yeah, so it's quite
Of
good.
your
Next
children.
question. Yeah, next question.
If I have 2 years and 10 months experience in back, spinal, and orthopedic ward, do I qualify?
2 years and 10 months, Savannah. Is it 2 years and
Correct.
10? Yeah, you do qualify as long as you've got the 2 years. We're happy to take your application. Please send your CV through.
If my qualification is in general nursing with midwifery, do they not accept it?
Once again, I'm going to repeat that. Please send us your CV so we can have a look and see if it's going to be accepted with our criteria, and we will let you know. If you qualify, we will take you through. If not, we'll also let you know. Thank you.
Last question is, so you only qualify once you have a specialty qualification?
No. You just need to be a registered nurse, whether it be medical, surgical, whether it be another specialty. It is, some nurses just apply. So just apply, try and send your CV, because we will assess it. We will look at the key ingredients of what they want, and we'll try and match you up. And if we can't match you, we will tell you. But we need to see what you're all about to be able to make a proper assessment and a proper answer. I don't want to say it, no, we don't accept you, no, we accept you, and we can. So I'd rather be fair toward you, make the effort to send us those CVs and your picture, so that I can then get the team to help you apply and get into a position.
That was the last question.
That was fantastic. Thank you for all the questions, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be posting into the chat box now. Again, the email addresses. Matthew, could you just share the email addresses and contact number for CVs to be sent through, so we can start applying for positions for you nurses out there. I've had a fantastic webinar tonight. I must say it's been super successful. I've had over 100 nurses on this webinar, and I'm very happy to have you guys. Really, I'm super excited. I can't wait to see the applications and to provide you with a wonderful tax-free salary and a new life, a new beginning. In fact, follow our TikTok on Newer Immigration's TikTok page. Follow us and have a look on YouTube. We have podcasts. It's called the Arrival Lounge. On YouTube, go listen to our podcasts and listen to Vuyo Sipunzi, a nurse in Saudi Arabia that's been there for just over a year now. And she has explained her journey. She's explained her start to end, what it's been like in Saudi, her wins, and her happiness and her living conditions. She's shown us her life in her beautiful villa that she has from the hospital, her swimming pools that she swims in, her wonderful, fantastic sauna, gym, jacuzzi, everything available to the nurses that are in Saudi. So follow us on TikTok, go to our Arrival Lounge podcast on YouTube, and just apply and take this opportunity to go to the next level. Don't delay, ladies and gentlemen. We've got those recruitment drives running. We want our top skilled nurses to get these jobs. And I'm in competition, guys, with other agencies globally for these positions. So the faster we move on the files and getting it to the Saudis, the faster we will get job offers and immediately start the visa process. So if you get a job this next couple of weeks, we can get you out of South Africa way before the end of the year. You can start your new job. I think anybody else wants to say something, Shirley or Savannah, anything to add? I'm going to say a very, very good night. And thank you for coming online and spending the time with us at Newer Immigration. And take care, and looking forward to hear from you all. Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Night.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.